Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Midweek Mix-Up Weekend Edition with myself and my awesome co-host, the General C. How you doing, dear brother? What you been up to?
Yeah, it's good to be here again. This week has gone so quick with all the bloody news that came out at the beginning of the week. It's been a very, very insane week.
It has.
Yeah, not been too bad. Just been chilling, playing some casual chill games more than anything. I did play quite a bit of Red Dead Redemption this week.
Have you? See, I have literally just put that onto my internal drive, ready to start Red Dead 2 again. But I haven't turned it on as yet. I've also installed the new Rainbow Six, which I've yet to play. I did hear that
I got that as well.
Pretty bad when you're playing solo, but good when you're playing co-op. So I think I'm not going to touch it solo. I'm going to wait and play with somebody else.
Yeah, I haven't started it myself yet, so maybe we can jump on that over the week if you're down to play.
Yes, most definitely try that out. And Nobody Saves the World is another one I've installed that I'm looking forward to playing because I've heard great things about it.
I do need to install that because I've seen a lot of gameplay of that and it looks like a blast.
Yeah, and it's also co-op as well.
Is it? I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought it was just judging from what I'd seen, I thought it was just a single player, like top-down experience, like a lot of these indies are.
That's what I thought it was, just a chill single player game.
Yeah, it's multiplayer co-op as well, which is absolutely awesome. Of course, I do not expect a big crowd from our podcast today because the Iron Lords have got a massive show on today with a lot of surprise guests to talk about the news this week. But we will obviously bring you our takes on everything. Before we do jump into it, though, hello, Bavari. How's it going? Hello, Mr. Badbit, of course. Hello, Studos. It's awesome to see you all. And of course, if you do like it, please share it out. It does help, specifically on the Lord's Sunday. But yes, before we dive into today's topics, I will ask you, brother, what have you been playing? Because we had this conversation slightly in the green room before we jumped on air, but we've been playing, or at least talking about a lot of these new up-and-coming indies. And all these older indies as well that have been that we've been playing. Little nice, shall we say, cutesy games.
Mainly Red Dead. I'm in no rush to soldier through all of that. I've already completed it before. I'm just going through it again at my own pace, just to chill and play it. Started playing a little bit of that indie game Unpacking. That's a nice little chill game just to chill out too. I played about an hour of that today. Also installed Rainbow Six. Not played that just yet. What else have I been playing? I'm trying to think. I did play another game, but I can't remember what it was. I have installed that Rain on Your Parade because we talked about that in the green room. So I'm going to try that out as well. Mainly just been playing some chill games. Oh, yeah, I did play a small smidge of Minecraft. Like I mentioned last week, I played quite a bit of that. Got a little bit of that in. But that's really been it. Just been playing some smaller chill games.
Nice.
And obviously, Red Dead, I know that's not really a small game. It's a huge game when it came out.
Oh, it's massive. It's massive. And I've been doing exactly the same thing. I have, like I just mentioned before, I installed Red Dead 2 on the internal drive again. And I'm just looking forward to playing that again, but on the internal drive. So it's going to hopefully load a little bit quicker, run a little bit smoother.
Oh, it does.
It's not going to look
so much better now.
But yeah, it's certainly going to play better. But yes, what else have you been up to? Have you had a chance to do much else?
I've been on a few podcasts. I recorded with Gamers Watch on Tuesday, so tomorrow's episode I'm on. And I was on Risk It for the Biscuit show this Friday gone, and that was a great time. I've been doing a few podcasts. I've got the old podcast bug, so
yes, you have.
Yeah, I've been quite enjoying my time on other podcasts. That one with Risk It was a good debate. It talked a bit about the whole Activision situation and what we thought about that, which we're going to get into here.
Yes, yeah, most definitely. I'm looking forward to getting into this conversation with yourself, actually, because we haven't podcasted together about this particular topic yet. Since the acquisition the other day, On podcast, obviously, our guests last week were Mick and, of course, Perempluk. But I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk to you about the acquisition or things that come after it. But of course, our major focus points are actually things that came after the acquisition. And obviously, those were the exclusivity surrounding Call of Duty and what that means, at least the wording from Mr. Phil Spencer himself.
Yeah, it's very cryptic, that tweet. Very, very vague statement.
Yeah, so, it's a very legal statement.
Yeah, don't take too much notice of those words because it's a very vague statement.
Yeah,
it could mean many, many different things.
God, this definitely, absolutely, it can mean an absolute swarm of things. To the second topic, of course, which we have today, and that is surrounding the old Activision IP revivals, and then, of course, the PlayStation response. In general, what we think it's going to be going forward, and then some more things that we want to wrap up about, including all of the projects that are currently in development now, or at least will be, upon closure of this acquisition, and kind of the forward path for Xbox. But yes, firstly, we will get into the meatier topic, of course, which is the Call of Duty exclusivity. Of course, I'm not going to bring up the tweet. We have joked about it. We all the desire that Phil Spencer shows to have
those words again. Desire.
The desire he has to have this game multiplat. Or should we say on PlayStation? Multiplat's a bit of an extreme word for Call of Duty because it's never truly been multiplat. It's been PC, Xbox, PlayStation. Nintendo don't care one iota about this acquisition. It doesn't affect them.
No, it doesn't really. COD games rarely come to Nintendo consoles in this day and age.
Yeah, very rare. The last ones that did were the Crash Bandicoot remaster, the Spyro remaster, and that's because they ended up being cross-platform. So we got the trilogies for both of those going into, of course, on the Nintendo and on Xbox. And of course, then Crash Team Racing. So all those three were destined to be multi-plat anyway. But apart from that, I mean, Crash Team Racing would never bother or hurt Nintendo in the slightest because they've got the biggest kart franchise in the world,
Mario Kart.
Which still sells inordinate amounts of copies even now.
If it came down to someone choosing Mario Kart over Crash Team Racing, they're going to choose Mario Kart every time.
Even though Crash Team's the better racer. Oh, I said it.
I can neither confirm or deny that. I've never played it. And I'm not really that much into racing games myself.
So imagine, it's Crash Team Racing. Imagine Mario Kart, but instead of just going one race to another and having a menu where you select races, etc., Crash Team Racing has like boss battles.
Really?
Has boss battles against the bigger guys you usually face off in the Crash universe. So like Nitro and all of that stuff. All of the bosses are racing bosses as well. So the ones that you usually get as bosses in the game are kart racing bosses in Crash Team Racing.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
But you've also got an open world hub to go between each area. So even between each area, you can get used to everything. You can kind of get used to drifting around the island and things like that, and using all the boxes and the weapons and stuff. So then you can just jump on and drift about for a bit and drive to the next area and join in competition.
I'll have a little look at that, see what the future might hold.
Yeah. It's definitely worth it, and like I say, to me it was the better racing game out of the two. I love Mario Kart, don't get us wrong, I do love it. But if I had to choose a kart racer, I would choose Crash Team Racing. I've got more fond memories of that than I do Mario Kart. I don't know what it is, but I do. It just came across as the better kart racer.
Yeah, I have to check that out. You never know if they make another one.
Yeah,
might be something to get into. And it's more like an
that's
arcadey fun game anyway.
That's the thing when we're talking about the IPs and the revitalized IPs and things that we talk going forwards. I've got some ideas as well that I love, that I would I'd love for them to take up upon for next Crash Team Racing or something similar.
Maybe throw some Viva Pinata characters in there, or some Banjo characters.
Anything. You could have the Xbox roaster. You could have all of them. You could have Master Chief and a little warthog. You could have.
The possibilities are really endless from this acquisition.
Oh, they absolutely are. They absolutely are. But talking specifics on Call of Duty, of course, PlayStation is, as people know, as it stands, of course, specifically over the last generation, over the last 7 to 8 years, PlayStation have had a number of Call of Duty exclusivity agreements for the platform.
I can't remember when they first got it. It was shortly after Xbox didn't renew their contract, and then Sony jumped on that bandwagon.
After 360 era, wasn't it? Just after.
So it's been quite some time.
Yeah. They used to have timed exclusivity sometimes on the game release, often by a month or so. Then they had timed exclusivity on maps, timed exclusivity on expansions, and I'm sure they had timed, if not permanent, exclusivity on a mode or two here and there.
I think so. I'm not too sure about that though. I never really played much COD on PlayStation, so.
But it was so they've had their fair share, and of course they've had the marketing rights for it as well throughout the years. And what happens when you have timed exclusivity with things? And believe it or not, this is just a cut and dry when it comes to casuals. When you have a timed exclusivity on something, the casual player will see it advertised for a certain platform, even though it's third party, which means it goes to every platform. A multi-plat, which means it goes to every platform. When you see it advertised for a specific platform, and then it tells you it's got stuff coming for that platform before any other platform, the casuals will always just go to where it is. They'll not say, "Oh, I'll just wait for it to come out for Xbox." Casuals, if they want it, they'll just say, "I'll get it on PlayStation now."
Most people can't be asked to wait those extra 30 days.
Yeah. And then with a game like Call of Duty, or Battlefield, or anything like that, the vast majority of the players are playing at launch, and they're playing it quite solidly at launch for maybe a month or two, and then it kind of dies off a little bit, and they're all starting to kind of find other things that they're playing as well as. So then the amount of times people are online playing that game starts to whittle down a little bit. That includes Call of Duty and everything else. Like even on ours now, like everyone will be playing something hardcore for the first couple of months, and then after that, it becomes kind of a game that's mixed in with everything else. So you'll be like, not always just playing that game. You're playing like your own few games, and then every now and again, you'll be jumping on that game to get.
It goes into like your rotation, doesn't it?
Yeah,
come rotation. Back to it always.
Yeah. So that's what happens. So by the time the initial hype for that particular game's died down, and then the game eventually releases on the second competing platform, the hype's no longer there. So then it's not really in the talking point anymore. So you've already lost the player base because no one's really playing it or talking about it. So that's where timed exclusivity gets its benefits to any platform. It's just going to jump straight onto one thing, and that's it. Then the players will automatically swerve towards that. And Call of Duty players are infinitely finicky, specifically the hardcore Call of Duty players. They will just go to whatever platform offers the game.
Yep, they go where COD goes.
They go where COD goes. It's the same with all hardcore fans of a series, and there are some of those. There's going to be hardcore Final Fantasy fans, and if that ever goes to just Xbox or only Nintendo or only PC or whatever it is, those hardcore Final Fantasy fans will go to whatever platform that's on.
They go where the franchise goes. And where the franchise moves to.
Yeah. And it's to be expected. You're going to have these hardcore fans and they'll follow it. But in terms of casual players, Call of Duty is one of the most casual shooters on the market, if not the most casual shooter on the market since its inception.
Definitely. It is the most casual shooter on the market.
Yep. And I know tons of them. I sent the when the Xbox Activision thing happened the other day. I sent it over to a friend of mine. Just dropped in just as an Xbox have purchased Activision for 68 billion. And the only thing he said about that was, hopefully they'll make a decent COD.
Yeah, we do need a decent COD. It's been a long time since I've been into it.
Yeah, he's notoriously been one of those casual players that purchases a console, plays on Call of Duty, and that's all he played continuously for years. This year, unfortunately, he was in a lose-lose situation. He isn't a Halo player. He chose Battlefield over Call of Duty this year because it looked like the better game. Of course, we know how that turned out.
Thankfully, and Battlefield were both in a bad position when they launched.
Yeah, I think thankfully his missus bought him Call of Duty Vanguard anyway, so he didn't really miss out on either of them. But he chose himself to do the Battlefield route. But yet, for himself, for a casual, he's like I say, he's just said, well, if they make a good one, then that's it. That's what matters.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of Call of Duty players will just be hoping that. I think you'll agree there as well. I mean, when was the last actual Call of Duty you went out and played?
The last COD I played properly for a lengthy time was 2019's Modern Warfare. I did play Cold War because I bought that for my dad as a Christmas gift and a game share with my dad. So I made the most of playing Call of Duty, and I only played it for like a few weeks. So it wasn't really something I stuck with.
Yeah.
Modern Warfare is something I stuck with for a good few months because I enjoy the modern setting of those COD games more than anything. Modern Warfare 2 was probably one of my favorite CODs next to World at War, because that was probably my favorite COD of all time just because of the World War II setting. But we know how Call of Duty is with the World War II settings nowadays, so they're not so great.
Nope. I think that's because games like set in World War II, you shouldn't really have them all like as linear as COD is with its levels and its campaign. Like call it like World War II as a war wasn't just this linear, like just run down this road and shoot this thing, or like house to house combat, because it wasn't always just house to house. It was big open fields, massive battle, like huge open areas, and like massive destructible buildings that you had to go around. You had to often flank around the other side, or you'd start out in the outer skirts and then have to attack a town.
Yeah, I'd like to see COD take a long hiatus after 2024, because we know that's when the PlayStation deal comes to its end. And then, I don't know, maybe they work on the next Call of Duty for 3 or so years. They come up with some new ideas to make the World War II setting interesting again in games. And then we see the World War II genre come back to its roots and be that special gem it was all the way back on 360 when we played games like Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3.
Yeah, 2, 3, and Medal of Honor. All three of them. Big and did really well for the World War II thing. And I remember playing all of them, Medal of Honor and Call of Duty 2 and 3, and they were really, really great, normal, like World War games.
I remember trying Call of Duty 2 for the first time. I was in a Toys R Us in 2005. I think it was just after the 360 launched. And I remember getting that exact COD for Christmas that year. So I played a shit ton of Call of Duty 2 as a kid. Probably not a good idea to be playing that as a kid, but I did. And it was brilliant. I really loved that game. Like, I even bought that game a few years back just to play again, just through the campaign.
Yeah. But I want to get your thoughts on the Call of Duty exclusivity, of course, from the post. Essentially, to summarize, because it's, of course, with it being so vague anyway, may as well summarize the quote. To summarize, of course, he's stating that all contractual obligations will be adhered to. They're going to honor those, naturally. of course, like they did with the Bethesda deal, and secondly, their desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation.
Yep, it's those words, intent and desire. You need to good old long listen to or read, whatever.
Yeah,
those words are very, very vague. Like his
can
desire could mean many different things.
Yep, can mean both angles. Can literally mean both angles, which is why people are fighting between each other. But of course, this isn't about everybody's angles. This is about my and your thoughts on how this will go, as opposed to an angle. It's more what we think will happen. What do you, from reading, not just from reading that, but in general, how do you see this playing out? Do you think Call of Duty will remain on multiplat?
It's going to be exclusive.
Yeah.
Once contracts come to a close and Call of Duty is no longer getting any exclusive maps or anything early, Call of Duty will probably take a long hiatus and then it'll come back and be Xbox exclusive.
Yeah.
The words he uses, intent and desire, his intent could mean that the only way they're going to get this game, the next COD game, is through Game Pass on PlayStation, and that could be his desire.
Yeah. See, I said that, and obviously, naturally, most people, if not all people, cannot see PlayStation ever allowing Game Pass on PlayStation, and I can see why.
It's not only the Game Pass they would be accepting; they'd need a version of Xbox Live running along in their own ecosystem. And I don't think Sony wants to compete with that because essentially it turns PlayStation into an Xbox.
It also
so it'd be the X Station.
Yeah, it also loses its. So other than its £10 a month subscription fee, or $15 a month, depending on where you are, other than that particular subscription fee, what it does lose is, and this is on the Xbox negative side, is part of the money-making aspect of Game Pass isn't the subscription. It's the purchase ability of games that are within Game Pass. So
like
if
the discount and stuff.
Yeah, you're getting them as a discount, microtransactions and all of that stuff. How that would work on Game Pass on a competing platform. We know how PlayStation do. If you purchase microtransactions within their platform, they get a cut, etc. A deal like that with Game Pass being there and then purchasing microtransactions essentially through PlayStation Store to use on the game on Game Pass muddies the water a bit in terms of transactions. So I can't see on that side how it would be.
Yeah, they'd have to uproot a lot of PlayStation services to get it to work properly, and I don't see Sony doing that anytime soon.
No.
Maybe anytime never. They probably won't do that.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of thing that Phil was looking at. A lot of people are saying that when it comes to going to the Court of Laws, people in the Court of Laws are going to say, what about this huge IP? Not that I expect them to look at it at an IP perspective.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that coming to it. And even if it does, Phil Spencer and all of his lawyers could just pipe up and say, well, we've given them an option. Their way around it is Game Pass. We've given that. We've took that to them. We've said, if you accept Game Pass, you will still to get Call of Duty on your system.
Yeah.
So that will appease most of the lawyers and people in the courts. So they've given them.
That's exactly how I think it'll go as well. To be honest, I think personally, I think it will remain. It'll remain multiplat until probably the end of 2023. When contractual obligations, maybe even 24, depends on how many of these contractual obligations are in place already. Specifically for Call of Duty, you've got to think with PlayStation. They've had that many in place with them previously. It depends on whether or not they've already got a blanket contract for the game for a number of years, exclusivity. And that could very well be the case. So it could be end of 23, if not going into 24, when multiplat kind of then finishes. But our desire to keep Call of Duty on the platform, to me, much like previous on the Bethesda side when they stated, "We will ensure all live service games and communities are catered for. They'll remain multi-plat. We'll not be taking those away."
Yeah.
Warzone is a live service game.
Oh yeah, they'll still support that. That's obvious to me.
Warzone is also Call of Duty on PlayStation.
I don't really see Warzone as too much of a debate because that game's going to be supported for a very long time, and they're going to keep supporting that on whatever platforms it's on anyway. If we take anything from what Phil said about Bethesda, they're going to continue supporting the games where they are. They're not just going to uproot those games and yank them away from the other system. Like, it means nothing because they're still going to generate revenue from that.
Yeah, it's but that caters to the keeping COD on PlayStation.
Yep.
Like as far as they're contractually obliged, if they said, "I want Call of Duty to remain on PlayStation," okay, you can. Warzone.
Yep, that's your Call of Duty.
Yep, that's your Call of Duty. It's there. You can have your microtransactions. You can have your timed exclusive maps for PlayStation on Warzone. We don't care. It's Warzone. Like, we want the normal franchise. But even then, when it comes to exclusivity and anti-consumerism, because I've seen this touted around as well, anti-consumerism, we're going into a new generation now where we can expect 23, 24 onwards to be next generation or current gen only. When you look at the player base for current gen, and next Call of Duty is going to be current gen only. It will ditch the last gen.
Yeah, I have to. I mean, we saw how bad. I think it was Black Ops 3 that was the final game for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 4, and it looked terrible because they kept working on that. That game should have just been left in the dust.
If you keep that in mind as well, then the numbers that people keep touting, the 120 million PlayStation players, is fictional. Whoop, it's gone.
Yep.
It's fugazi,
that number becomes much slimmer.
Yep. Then it turns into 17 million, 18 million, maybe 20 million, 30 million tops by the time 23 comes around. And if that's the case, then you haven't got 120 million people that you could potentially be selling it to, because the consoles are still in short supply.
Finding it hard to sell. Yeah.
The consoles are still in short supply. The player numbers are way down compared to previous years in terms of sales copies when you're doing a current gen only game. So then Xbox have the upper hand there because they might have 5-7 million less consoles to cater to. But then they've also got the mobile market and the PC
market, cloud gaming market.
Yeah. So they've got three angles covered instead of one. So they're not just catering to one console or one platform. They're catering to three platforms. So in terms of their player numbers, PlayStation not being able to get enough PlayStations out isn't going to affect them. And with a next or current, and I keep saying next gen, but a current gen only Call of Duty, which is what we're going to see in 23, 24, then the sales figures based on a last generation console are irrelevant.
Yep, I fully agree with that.
Yeah. So you can't say it's going to affect sales. You can't say it's going to do this because it's still in the period right now, because consoles are so hard to come by from PlayStation and from Xbox in terms of its highest console, because Series S is pretty much readily available. It's much easier to produce. It's still within that time period there where if they say, well, Call of Duty, and automatically associate that with Game Pass or Xbox, then people are just going to go out and buy a Series S or an X.
Yep, there's a reason why the Series S exists.
Yeah,
it's a nice entry point for anyone that has a PlayStation 5 already, and it's cheap.
Yeah, casual, and it's a casual market with a casual price. It's not an overbearing price. It's not I've got to fork out like £500. This is sometimes you can find them on sale for like $270.
You're starting to see that pay off for Microsoft now, because a lot of people were saying, and even some of those people were in Sony saying that they don't see how launching a second console helps. It does, because look at the Series S; it's selling like mad.
100%.
Like my sister just went and bought one, and she's going to buy one for her son. So
Oh, you love it. You love it specifically, and you've got to think as well. Like, not everyone, and still to this day, not everybody has these big, beefy 4K HDR Dolby Vision TVs. Like, not everybody's got that, and very few people these days actually still have a big, flashy 4K TV. So you don't need that. And the market, specifically PC players, if you have a look at them, the amount of people that are playing in 4K, it's all DLSS anyway. It's all super sampled 4K. Like, very, 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 very marginal amount of that market are actually playing on a 4K screen.
Yep, 4K is very expensive for most people. Yeah, and the casual consumers don't see it as an option. That's why
all
Series
about
S is a
performance,
perfect opportunity.
speed, smoothness, how stable the game plays. And if Call of Duty is running at 1080p 60 or 1080p 120 on a Series S, you better believe that's where Call of Duty players will be playing that game. They won't care about that 4K.
Don't really need all those extra all singing, dancing visuals. They just want to play the game. That's it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's only really the hardcore that care about how stunning the game looks in 4K.
100%. It's mad. It's to me personally, and this is my stance, and I'll stick to it. I will die on this hill, as I keep saying. Call of Duty, Warzone will remain on PlayStation. Will remain anywhere that it can possibly be because it's a live service. That will be the Call of Duty that remains on PlayStation once contractual obligations are finished, whether that be 23 or 24. I personally agree. I hope it does take a hiatus. I'm sure they've mentioned it is going to take a kind of a hiatus to get it to do a little bit of work on it anyway.
Yeah, I think even before this deal, people in Activision were debating to stop COD as a yearly franchise anyway. So that debate is already there. It's probably going to take Microsoft to come in and stop that from happening after this deal is finished with Sony, because they probably looking at COD as well. I mean, a lot of people saw Phil Spencer was on Call of Duty Vanguard the other day, and he's probably going to take a long look at that game and see how that game's running.
Yeah,
if it's up to snuff, and then he's probably going to be taking notes at that as well. And then obviously when this year's COD comes out, he's probably going to be checking that out as well. And then he'll make his decision, and his decision will likely be COD is going to go, instead of every year, every 2 to 3 years, maybe, or maybe even longer.
Yeah, I'm hoping probably at least every 2, if not every 3 years for Call of Duty. Put some time into it, enjoy it.
So do you see it though as maybe they take a longer break initially with COD when this deal does go through and the deal with PlayStation comes to its close? Maybe they take a longer break initially to get those ideas flowing, and then maybe COD comes back 4 years after or 5 years after.
I don't think they would financially do that. I think Call of Duty is a money spinner. Again, this is just estimate numbers on PlayStation. Just on PlayStation, Call of Duty generates them, and of course it's multi-plat, but just for the PlayStation side, it generates them almost £250 million worth of revenue annually. So Microsoft obviously know this. In terms of its how much it brings in microtransactions alongside the game and season passes and all that malark. So they know the value of it. So I don't think they would put it to bed for that long.
Yeah,
I think
I'd say 2 years then, if
2 years.
Putting it that way, yeah.
Put it to bed for 2 years, but I think what they'll do is the final version that comes out prior to them putting it to bed, they'll ensure that they've got people working on additional content for that.
Enough content for that, yeah.
Keep it going until the newest one comes back out again. Like they've mentioned with some of the other, like obviously they've got this big roadmap for Halo now, which is like a 10-year plan. But like they've mentioned, of course, they want to just keep putting content out for it as opposed to until the next big one comes. But they don't want to just rush out a new game every time. So I see 2 years as probably the fine thing there, and probably within that 2 years, because obviously what we've got to think is it's going to take a break for 2 years, but it doesn't mean the ideas and the and things for the next title won't already be looked at a year prior to that. So it's probably got a year's worth of decision making for that particular title, and then development on the new title would begin after that year, and then have a 2-year dev cycle for it. So it's technically a 3-year dev cycle, as opposed to it comes out every year, which means that you're always thinking about the next game whilst the next game's in development, and then release that game, and then that one starts development, and then release that game, and that one starts. So instead of doing it like that, you've got yourself like a breathing space. So you've got a year's worth of thinking, and then 2 years worth of development, which means that you've got a year's worth of that to have the team be able to kind of just relax, work on the kind of the bug fixing and things on that Call of Duty, take a step back for a second, and then the tail end of that 2-year period, going into the second year of it, then you start thinking about what's the next project Call of Duty going to be, and then start the next. So you've got a bit of time, and I think that's the best way Call of Duty can be handled, where it's a happy medium.
And then also, if they need to delay it, they're not going to have any worries about being forced to reach the deadline, because Microsoft are willing to put a game like Halo, give that an extra year. They're going to obviously be willing to give whatever time these COD developers need to finish their game.
And Halo, for anybody thinking that Halo's a small title, Halo is a $5 billion franchise. Like, it isn't small fry as much as people like to believe it is. Halo is actually one of the largest franchises in the world, and specifically, if not the largest. Let's have a look. Just gaming franchises. I'm sure it's one of the, if not bigger, than Call of Duty in terms of its annual. I don't want longest running. Highest earning franchises. There we go. So naturally, of course, Call of Duty's Pokemon's on top. Of course,
Pokemon's a huge franchise.
Call of Duty is the third largest. That's actually worth $17 billion as a franchise. That was years ago. This mind, it's probably taken a massive dip since then, but this was like from about 2 years ago. But that was a $17 billion franchise. It was absolutely ginormous. See there, even then, this is going back to that was Activision from 2003. Call of Duty was $17 billion. The Nintendo Wii, $14 billion. Final Fantasy, $10 billion. FIFA, $10 billion. Probably won't be any more. Grand Theft Auto, $9 billion. Outside of that, where is it? Halo was a $5 billion franchise. Was larger than Star Wars at that point as well.
Bloody hell, I didn't know that.
Yep. So it's massive. So anybody underestimating why the delay and their willingness to delay their largest franchise when it's worth that much, definitely to give them props for that. And I don't think they'll be hesitant to delay a game either. I think it'll most definitely go for it and say, right, let's take a little bit more time. Let's take this back to the drawing board, relax a little bit, see what we can come up with, see how we can refine the game, whether or not they want to choose a different engine to work on. Do you want to use a creation engine by ZeniMax? Do you want to use...
That's a good point. Slipspace engine they could use.
Yeah, id Tech. Use Doom's engine. Or Wolf's engine, because Wolf's got a decent little shooter going by it. Or you could use Slipspace. You could use the Halo engine if you wanted to. Yes, it's catered to Halo. And a lot of the design choices within that engine are specifically for Halo. But their gunplay, we have to agree, and I think everybody has to agree, the gunplay and the gameplay in this Halo Infinite is better than any of the gunplay and any of the gameplay in the other two franchises that dropped first-person games this year.
And they dropped the game and it worked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I do have a question. Do you think they're gonna reduce it down to one team working on COD or two teams?
Two. I think they're going to. Personally, I think the best option for them would be to have them. In fact, it'd probably be even better for in terms of dev cycles as well, because you could alternate between the two. You could have Sledgehammer and what was the other one as well?
Treyarch?
I'm trying to think of the other
Or
one.
Infinity
Sledgehammer
Ward.
and Infinity Ward. You could have them taking turns. So even though they're coming out every 2 years, technically then that would even be even better, because you could have like a full 3-year dev cycle on the game. Because you could have Sledgehammer working on the game 1 year, and then they take a break. And then Infinity Ward's got the next one, so then they've got a little bit more time to get that out. So when that one releases 2 years from that, then Infinity Ward's releases. So it means obviously when they've finished theirs, they've got a year worth of bug taken, but then they've got time to go out and do something else as well, or go and help with something else.
Smaller projects, maybe assists.
Yeah.
Where do you see Treyarch going then once this whole deal is done?
Just give them a new IP.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that.
Yeah, give them a new IP. Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward, Treyarch, or you could just alternate all three of them, which
I'd
gives
like to
one of them
see
even more time off.
I'd like to see one of them teams maybe take on, as everyone keeps asking for it in the Twitch community, that stream Battle Royale games, a Halo Battle Royale, but separate from Infinite. It's got nothing to do with Infinite. It's its own engine doing its own thing. Put one of those COD teams on it.
Yeah, you could do that. Of course, Blizzard will be able to get back to making the Diablos, the Overwatches, and of course bring back World of Warcraft to its best position that it could be, because that's been neglected somewhat horrifically over the last couple of years. Toys for Bob, God, there's an inordinate amount of things they could do, but for specifically on the Call of Duty section here, we have at the moment, even Toys for Bob have been dragged into it a little bit, but for Call of Duty, you had Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Ravensoft, Sledgehammer Games, High Moon Studios, and Beanox all working on Call of Duty, which is just obscene to have that many studios working on one game.
I'd like to see High Moon Studios go back to working on the Transformers game, because the Transformers games they made were brilliant.
Pull Ravensoft, High Moon Studios, and Beanox completely out of the Call of Duty loop and just say you're never making those games again. Don't worry about it. Just here's a whole host of IPs from both Microsoft and Activision. What do you want to make, or do you want to make something new? Just let them have free roam, because the fact that they've been dumped on this franchise for the best part of probably about 5-6 years now, and just been forced to work on it.
Those Transformers games, I think it was War for Cybertron, then Forward Cybertron. There was a third one they were going to do, which was going to be set on Earth, and they never got to do it because they were delegated to COD.
Yeah, I mean, to be
those
fair,
were really good games.
This brings us nicely into our second topic anyway, which is revived IPs. Of course, with this, another comment came off the back of the exclusivity with COD, and that was the revival. Phil Spencer.
He can sponsor us
He's
if
not
he
a
wants.
sponsor. He'll sponsor us if he wants. Phil Spencer with the $68 billion acquisition. It's Phil Spencer, of course, came out with his not just desire, but his determination to ensure that they look into older IPs and make use of these older IPs and start working them again. And that's one of his kind of ambitions, is to bring back some of these old games, which is obviously music to all of our ears, because there's a lot of franchises they've got that have just been sitting
put on ice
nothing.
because of Call of Duty.
Yeah, because of Call of Duty. Now, obviously, you take off Toys for Bob, and the first thing that popped to mind with me is obviously they've done Crash Bandicoot, and they've got Wumpa League kind of in development at the moment. And I'm going to bring this up onto the screen, actually, and we'll switch over to the next section here. Boop. There we go. So if we have a look just on this section on the bottom, so you've got Treyarch, Black Ops, Infinity Ward, Modern Warfare 2. Of course, they were the ones they worked on, but still working on the normal Call of Duty as well. Then Ravensoft did Warzone, Sledgehammer, Call of Duty Vanguard, and Call of Duty Project unannounced. Hyman
That's too much
Studios,
Call of
Call of Duty
Duty.
Support Studios, Enoch, Call of Duty Support. So too much Call of Duty, far too much Call of Duty. But one thing that we
and
did,
Hyman Studio could be doing so much more better than just COD. Assisting COD at least.
For sure. So excluding those support studios for the second, Toys for Bob. We've got Crash Bandicoot, Wumper League, and Spyro unannounced. So the fact that they're working on them games anyway, awesome. I don't know what the hell Wumper League is, but that's obviously some kind of sports game, or something a bit different for Crash Bandicoot, and I hope it isn't.
I wonder if it could be like a Crash twist on Mario Party.
Possibly. But I'd like to see Crash Bandicoot come out again. Like Crash 4 was good, but I think they could still do a little bit more, kind of bringing Crash into the new age. A bit like you've seen with Kirby, a bit like you've seen with Sonic Frontiers.
Oh, I'm
like
really
they're going
into
these,
Sonic Frontiers.
These awesome worlds. And I think Crash has got an awesome world where you can still have the platforming and things in it. And you've got some awesome characters, you've got awesome little enemies, you've got nice like platforming and puzzle solving and things like that. And I think doing that in a more open world with Crash would be awesome. But at the same time, I understand you're going to have these diehard Crash fans that just want to remain platforming in the traditional Crash platforming sense. So they could do like a hybrid game where you're going to have those hybrid those old traditional levels, then mixed in with the big levels. But what I want to see Toys for Bob get put on is Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
100%.
Or Viva Pinata.
Yeah. Yeah, or Blinks the Cat. There's so many like of these franchises that Xbox have got that no one's working on.
I'd like to see, and this probably will never happen, but I'd like to see Double Fine work on either a Crash or Spyro game.
No, that would be awesome. I mean, it'd be wild. It would be wild because let's face it, Double Fine with Psychonauts was just a trippy game. Yeah. It was awesome. Obviously, it was pretty much one of my game of the years. Obviously, the game we played together, It Takes Two, took the biscuit and it won last year for me.
Oh, it's amazing.
I mean, we left it very late in playing that game for the first time last year. But it was just such a great. It still sticks in my head now, and every time I see it, and obviously I put every Sunday midnight
I saw
live.
Some of yesterday's video. I was watching a bit of it,
and it just brings a smile to my face because I play it and I think it's such a magical game. So like, and every level was like just awesome, and I really enjoyed that. And then I think of Psychonauts 2 as well, and that had just equally as whimsical and mad levels, but in a different way entirely. I think I enjoyed the It Takes Two thing a bit more because I really enjoyed the co-op experience.
Yeah,
I've never played something
that was brilliant.
That good from a co-op.
Such a unique and diverse game. Like every level was different. You had something different going on. You had different abilities every level, pretty much.
Yeah, the entire level was different. It looked different. Everyone had different abilities, so you had to learn new things every time, which was awesome. We ended up in a level where it was like Diablo, which was just insane. I was just brilliant. Like, what is going on? I'm a wizard and I can like do all these.
I enjoyed that.
It was just such a great game. But I want to see Toys for Bob have this getting let loose and just say, right, we've got all of these whimsical old IPs that aren't being used, or you can just make Crash and Spyro stuff at the second. But we've got all of these other IPs as well as these old Activision stuff. What would you like to work on? Yeah, I just love. Obviously, Muppet agrees with you as well. He says, "No Dutch, Viva Pinata." But yeah, I'd love to see a Banjo-Kazooie or a Viva Pinata.
I mean, could you imagine? I put a tweet out a few days ago. I said, could you imagine a Viva Pinata game by Toys for Bob, and then like with like some amiibo sort of toy system in it, like they did with Skylanders?
And Muppet said another thing there. We'd love another cameo. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, get them on a cameo. Cameo is very... I mean, to be honest, in terms of the development aesthetics, Cameo and Spyro go pretty much hand in hand in terms of the way that they look. I think that would work very well. I think Cameo would be a very good one for Toys for Bob, actually. It's a good shout. Why not both? Yeah, you're right. Get them doing both. Depends. Obviously, they've got 10,000 staff at Activision Blizzard. It's a surreal amount of staff, 5,000 of which are at Blizzard alone.
It's crazy.
The remaining 5,000 are between Toys for Bob and all of the Call of Duty studios. But yeah, you've got enough staff there to split them into a couple of teams, or at least probably, hopefully, if not, hire or mix staff around to work for Toys for Bob. Get them a couple of hundred staff at least, and get them working on 2 projects. Yeah, why not do a Viva Pinata and I've forgotten the bloody name of it now, and I've just mentioned it.
Cameo.
No other one.
Banjo-Kazooie.
That's the one.
I'm lost as well now.
Yeah, I just completely lost me on main track there. But yeah, you could get a couple of teams working on them instead of just the one game. Yeah, you're right, Mick. Why not both? Why not split them into 2 little teams and give them enough time to do it as well?
Yep, that's perfect because Phil Spencer's pretty much solved his problem with having more family-friendly games in Game Pass.
Oh, 100%. 100%. He solved it in one fell swoop. We needed a family-friendly studio, and we've got one in Toys for Bob. Yeah, completely agree with that. We then have Blizzard. Now, specifically for Blizzard, I think, and people will probably hate to hear this, but I would like Blizzard to... of course, Diablo's a massive franchise. Overwatch 2 is coming out. That's going to be multi-platform. The Diablo, of course, Diablo Immortal is iOS and Android. It's a mobile game. Obviously, Diablo 4 is multi-plat. Overwatch 2, multi-plat. But I'd want to see Blizzard be given the time to get World of Warcraft back up to scratch. They've went through a hell of a beating from Final Fantasy XIV over recent years. So much so that there was a massive exodus from World of Warcraft over to Final Fantasy XIV. A massive exodus.
I mean, could you imagine this? Players? Like either Bethesda or I'm blanking here, but what's the team that work on the Outer Worlds? They're working on Avowed. I can't remember their name there.
Oh my god, yeah, I've forgotten about them. We'll get them anyway. Actually, we'll go up to.
But could you imagine them taking the World of Warcraft franchise and doing something different with it? Maybe more like Skyrim-like.
ZeniMax Online do the Elder Scrolls Online, but I think ESO. But I mean, ESO is doing quite well, to be fair. Yeah, Elder Scrolls Online. But ZeniMax Online, they are also working on a brand new project as well. And I've seen an interesting quote from the creative director at ZeniMax Online as well today on Twitter, stating that he's infinitely surprised because it's a brand new IP that they're creating at the moment for Xbox. And he's really surprised at how awesome the updates have been from the developers that he's got underneath there, like the project updates. But also how enthusiastic they are, how much they love what they're working on. And he's really excited to show off this new IP. So that's very interesting. But I want Blizzard to just be given the time to go back and work on tremendous new content for World of Warcraft and really win their player base back, because that is a historic franchise that really set MMOs off to become popular, should we say. Of course, there have been many MMOs over the years, even before World of Warcraft, but they had never been as popular as World of Warcraft.
And look at how many celebrities have played World of Warcraft and have been in advertisement for World of Warcraft.
Well,
they love it.
But yeah, it's infinite amounts, and I'd like to see them just be given the time. And they will give them time. That's one thing that these studios can be rest assured. Microsoft will give them all the time they need to create the best game possible. And I think Blizzard, products they want to create and not rush them out, because they're not hindered by shareholders.
Yeah.
The only person that's making any finite decisions is Satya Nadella and Phil Spencer. And if they don't think it's in the right time or place to release a game, then they will not release that game. They don't care how big that game is. And we've seen that with Halo. If that game wasn't in the right shape, they would not have released it. They made that decision with their biggest IP in Halo. So don't be... I think all these guys, all these developers working for Activision Blizzard don't have to be scared about that. I think they can now feel at ease.
They don't need to be pushed into crunch time or worry about reaching deadlines.
And really, no doubt, crunch is normal for game development. And a lot of developers, specifically even at Halo, and they've mentioned it, there's sometimes where it's not forced crunch, but it's essentially a requirement to crunch. But then there's other times where they love what they're doing so much that they end up crunching regardless. They just stay back longer because they want to get something finished. They want to do something. They want to fix it or do it. It's an internal want to get something done, and because you enjoy it so much.
That's the difference between like voluntary
crunch and forced crunch, Or this game is now 2 windows behind its deadline. Like we have to stick in some overtime type of crunch. And that's the kind of stuff that these developers have been forced to do for Call of Duties for ages. Is this enforced crunch to work on the same old shite for something that isn't changing as much. And they've took a beating internally as well from the work practices. We're not going to touch on that today, but of course, one of the benefits of this acquisition is that Microsoft do not tolerate that in any way, shape, or form. We're not talking about a $70 billion company anymore. It isn't just Activision Blizzard who can kind of get away with it, and the share price isn't really affected by what they do too much. The difference with this is they're now going into a $2.5 to $3 trillion company, where share price and market differences affect the world market. They don't just affect one thing; they affect everything. Like they're working with governments, they're working with military. This isn't just a game dev company they've come into now. They're working for a company that has military contracts for technology and software. Obviously, HoloLens is there's 250 to 500,000 HoloLens sitting on a military contract right now.
That's crazy.
And they're like 5,000 a piece. That's just for the consumer version, let alone the military version, which no doubt will have some additional things built into it that are part of those contracts. Then you've got government contracts for systems, security systems, online systems, and everything in between. Software, PCs, cloud, network and servers, you name it. Government contracts, they are high level. So they cannot afford to have the issues that Blizzard Activision have got to continue going forward, because they can't afford that bad press. They are too big of a deal. They will get scrutinized. The only thing that's going to affect whatever it is passing through legislation to make sure this deal does go through won't be anything to do with Call of Duty or an IP or anything like that.
No, they're not looking at IP.
Staff treatment. It'll be sexual harassment in the workplace, all of that stuff. Once all of that stuff's been ironed out, once they've got the assurances that that's going to be ironed out and that the staff are going to be treated correctly, and that jobs aren't going to be lost outside of the ones that have been are the offenders. I think once those have been satisfied and they are confident that the 10,000 workers are in very fitting hands, that's when it gets signed off.
Yeah, and we all know Phil's about equality and diversity, so that's not going to be an issue.
Exactly, and he's mentioned that. He's mentioned that a few times. He's essentially said, we don't tolerate this from top to bottom. Whether you're the lowest kind of dustbin emptying, sweeping cleaner on the floor, or all the way up to the CEOs and the directors and team managers. Every one of you is fully liable for your actions within the workplace.
That's what I love about Phil. He cares about the people that work at every single company, and he cares about the gamers as well. And he is a gamer.
Exactly, and rest assured, if they do not mess around, if they don't adhere to guidelines in the workplace regarding those things, they will be out. There'll be no messing around with that, because again, like I say, of course, Phil is in charge of Microsoft Gaming, but at the end of the day, Satya Nadella still is boss, and his boss will not allow that kind of behaviors to go on within the workplace. He obviously, for the health of the company and the image of the company, they can't afford that. Microsoft would never afford that, not in the size that they are now. Years ago, Microsoft hadn't had a squeaky clean record, but they've done a lot to turn that around.
Done a good job of turning things around.
Yeah, right now they would not allow anything to jeopardize the position that they are in the market. They are consistently either top or second, because they're in battling with Apple to be the richest and most profitable company in the world. It's always Apple or Microsoft, or Apple or Microsoft, and every week it's different. One time Microsoft hits 3 trillion, the next week Apple hits 3 trillion, the next week Microsoft it goes up and down all the time. So they wouldn't let something like this jeopardize it. They would ensure above all else that staff are treated correctly. It's a great workplace to work in, and that it won't continue, which is great. What other IPs would you like to see brought back?
Gun, their Western cowboy game.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of cowboy games. I love Red Dead Redemption. I play Hunt Showdown pretty much a few times a week when I can. I'd love to see them bring Gun back and maybe do something Red Dead like with it.
Yes, most definitely. That would be awesome. And they have one of those. They've got a few franchises actually that would kind of fill a gap in between things. One of the ones that I liked, and I think I got called out the other day, and I've mentioned it now on pretty much every show that I've been on, is Soldier of Fortune.
Yep.
Want it? Give me it.
Yeah, I think that will happen. There's a lot of franchises they've got. It's unbelievable looking at the list.
Call of Duty meets Doom. You can't go wrong with that formula.
Guitar Hero, I'd love to see that come back.
I want that on back compat. Give me Guitar Hero 3 on back compat immediately.
That would be amazing to see. They have the Tenchu Legacy games, so I'm wondering if they could maybe do a remake.
Yeah.
I love those Tenchu games growing up.
Yeah. It's a great possibility. I would really hope that they do bring it back as well.
I think it's From Software that actually own the IP though, so maybe they have to
do a deal. Or they could just get
with that.
Yeah. They could do a deal, or because if they own the IP, but they have the legacy games, it's a bit of a. They could, to be honest, they could probably just farm that out anyway. If they've got the legacy games, they could probably farm that out as a third-party exclusive to get the legacy games remastered or something.
We've got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater as well.
Yes.
So many games, it's unbelievable. But out of all of them, I'd love to see them do something with Gun.
Yeah. For me, other than obviously just make sure that Spyro and Crash are looked after. Soldier of Fortune, of course, like I say, most definitely. But Tony Hawk's is a bit of a different one. They've got this obviously Skate making a comeback. You've got Tony Hawk's. What else have they? Let's have a look at the other franchise. So let's just open up a little second tab here.
They've got Blur, Caesar, Call of Duty, Candy Crush, Crash Bandicoot, Diablo, DJ Hero, Empire Earth, Gabriel Knight, Geometry Wars, Guitar Hero, Gun, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, Hexen, Interstate 76. I've never heard of that one myself. King's Quest, Laura Bow Mysteries, The Lost Vikings, Overwatch.
True Crime. There's another one. True Crime. So a True Crime is like it's like a detective. It's like an open world detective game. And if ever if ever GTA 6 is going to be an exclusive or a timed exclusive for PlayStation, bring back True Crime and turn that into an exclusive for Xbox, because that would be your competitor to GTA all day, every day.
I don't see GTA 6 in any reality being an exclusive game.
I can see it being timed exclusive.
Possibly, but Take-Two love that.
Yeah,
and the more that they can make, the better. So I don't
Yeah.
ever see GTA going exclusive anymore.
Yeah. Lords of the Realm, Extreme Pinball, City Building, Ultimate Soccer Match. But yeah, they've got a lot of smaller titles.
A lot of stuff. Prototype as well.
Yes, Prototype. I'd love to see
loved.
Prototype.
The first one was brilliant. I'm not so much a fan of the second one, but I loved the first one. I'd love to see them bring that back.
Prototype.
That could be our answer to a Spider-Man type game, because Prototype
100%.
was set in New York. So
100%.
a hero game is looking like something that Xbox is going to have very soon if they can bring that back, maybe reboot it with a little bit different twist to it.
Yeah. I forgot about Dave Mirra BMX, and God, there was there many titles for Dave Mirra?
I have no idea. Yes, the list goes on. There's so many games they've got. I'd like to see them get the license for the Transformers games back and do another Transformers game, High Moon.
Yeah,
because they did a wonderful job with those War for Cybertron games and the Fall of Cybertron game.
And of course, a lot of people want to see Skylanders make a comeback.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that falls nicely into the Toys for Bob area again as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing what kind of crossover game could come out of this, with maybe Call of Duty and an IP that exists with Xbox. Mentioned it on...
You've got the old Pitfall game as well, which could technically be like an Uncharted if you did that.
Yeah,
really put that into it.
Do we see that happening with the Indiana Jones game?
It depends on the angle that they go down on the Indiana Jones game. I think that's kind of like an Uncharted-esque kind of game with Indiana Jones, but it's also not, because Indiana Jones is he's more of a historian / treasure seeker, whereas like the whole purpose of Uncharted is like a thief's legacy, like steal to sell.
Yeah,
steal to make fortunes, not to keep the items. Because he's like going to museums and he's got historians with him and things like that at all points. Like, it's a little bit different. A bit like Tomb Raider. That's good. That's an entirely different topic, because I love Tomb Raiders and I want to see a new Tomb Raider. But
I've never played Police Quest. What's that?
I've never heard of it, to be fair. Old
Maybe
games.
Someone in chat knows what that is that can explain it to us.
And of course, bring back the StarCraft legacy.
I've never played StarCraft, but I'd just say bring back whatever they want to bring back.
Yeah. But also another thing that isn't on this list that we can't overlook is King. Massive mobile developer, second largest in the world, behind I've forgotten the name of the other one that Tencent's just bought.
Zynga, whatever that's pronounced.
Yeah, Zynga. Absolutely massive. Massive for them, and obviously they've got Candy Crush there, but they're really looking to push into the mobile market as well for several different reasons, whether that's just mobile only games or games for mobile on Game Pass. But it'll be a mixture of both. Putting Candy Crush into Game Pass mobile would mean that those people no longer have to pay for like energy boosts or anything like that. If they're paying for Game Pass,
then getting Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah.
With King, they'll make that money back so easy. They'll make it back in a blink of an eye.
Yep. But then we get on to, let's get on to the other studios as well, because this is on talking about this sheer volume of projects that we've got going on at Xbox at the moment.
30 plus studios with 50 plus projects.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's following the completion of the Activision acquisition. 30 studios, 50 plus projects. As it stands, there's still over 30 projects ongoing at Xbox Game Studios, with over 20 odd studios, 23, 24 studios. But within that, you've also got 2-3 teams per studio. So you're actually looking at more like 50 development teams with around about 50 to 60 projects in total. So it's actually bigger than that number. But we'll just kind of go through them here quickly. So as it stands, 343, of course, Halo Infinite live service and unannounced Halo project. We know we've got something else ongoing besides just the live service. We obviously know that they've got the Endless registered, which would be in line with the
DLC,
Halo Infinite story. Yeah. Next up, you've got the Coalition, an unannounced IP, and Gears 6. We know they're taking a little bit of a hiatus from Gears, which is great. I know people are desperate for a new one, but obviously that franchise did need a little bit of a break.
Yeah, take all the time they need. I can't wait to see Gears 6 when it comes back. And
it's going to be phenomenal.
Amazing in Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, it's going to look. It is going to be pushing the boundaries of what Unreal Engine 5 can do. We know that Coalition are absolute masters with that engine.
Yep.
So
we've seen what they can do already with more time.
Graphically, I've got absolutely no concerns with what they're going to pull out of the bag. They've obviously, as people know, they've worked on the Matrix demo that everybody's seen that they were blown away with. They helped bring that to life. So, and there's a reason why they asked the Coalition to help them make that. If you're going to show off a tech demo like that on Unreal Engine, you ask the best in the business.
Yep.
And who's the best in the business with Unreal Engine 5? It's the Coalition.
Yep, because they go way back with Gears. A lot of the people working at the Coalition came from Gears.
Yep. Turn 10, of course, Forza Motorsport. They don't do anything other than Forza, and naturally, that's why they're called Turn 10. It is a racing team. They've created Forza, but that is a big project, and that's going to be...
I can't wait to see what that looks like after Horizon. I can't wait to see.
New engine. That's going to be on the new engine. If people weren't aware, Horizon 5 was not on the new engine. Horizon 5 was on the last iteration of the previous engine. So that even isn't... So what we've seen in Horizon 5, which is beautiful in itself, wasn't even the newest version of Forza tech. The first time we'll ever see the newest version of Forza tech will be in Forza Motorsport. So I've got no doubt that's going to just blow our minds in terms of its visual fidelity. But also they're putting a lot of work into getting that back up and running the best it can be, which is tremendous. But that's probably looking at this year, if not next year, when that releases. There's reasons to believe it could be either. So we'll have to wait and see. I think we'll probably find out this E3 with a release date for Forza Motorsport. What that time frame is, whether or not it's going to be releasing the tail end like Forza Horizon did, or going into next year. I can see it squeezing into this year.
Yeah, I can see that too. They've been working on it for quite some time.
Yeah. Ray live service, we know, and of course we've got our resident Xbox Mick in the house here, the Sea of Thieves all-knowing encyclopedia. There is a lot of big stuff coming from Sea of Thieves this year. They're working solidly on continued content to push the boat out on this franchise, and hats off to them because it's been well deserved. Their success and the quality of the content that they're putting out for that game, and the continued love they're putting into this game is really great to see. This franchise is going places, and the content that is coming out for that game over this year and next is insane. Next up, of course, Everwild is a little bit spotty. This one was scrapped and started from scratch. It's unfortunately here, but it didn't. It wasn't really going in a direction they had anticipated it was in terms of what the game was.
Yeah.
So what they wanted it to be and what it actually wasn't marrying up. So they've started again. The core idea of the game is still pretty much there, but I think they've just restarted it to kind of get to.
Yeah, at least they haven't abandoned it, and they're still passionate about carrying on with what they're doing. So I'm excited to see what they do.
The project itself. It's going to be it's still quite a few years out. But yeah, they stopped and started again primarily because it just wasn't marrying up with the original vision they had for it. So what they thought it was going to be and what it was whilst they were developing it wasn't marrying up. So they put a scratch, stopped it, and started again. So we're probably going to see that probably 2024, 25 maybe.
Yeah, I expect a reveal trailer for that maybe next year.
100%. And with that reveal, we're going to get actual gameplay. But it's going to be a while away yet. So I would anyone who wants to see Everwild, I would just hold your horses for that and just put a bookmark in it for the next couple of years. If we see anything before that, then it's a nice surprise. But I wouldn't bank on anything from Everwild for a bit. But rest assured, the team at Sea of Thieves are going to fill you full of content to enjoy on a
What do you think that they're going to do next? Because we did have the Pirates of the Caribbean crossover. I'm saying maybe Peter Pan.
I am still. I'll tell you what. I'm going to dig something out very quickly. Very quickly.
I think maybe a Peter Pan game would be cool. Chat. What do you think about that?
This was the last
not a Peter Pan game, but
physically
content.
Find in my possession. I'll have the others somewhere, but
that's cool.
The camera just keeps wanting to move because it wants to focus on me. And obviously that's the original.
That's cool.
Woo! And the booklet. The actual booklets, remember youngins when we used to get booklets? We used to get booklets for games. We used to with artwork in.
And we'd always take them in the toilet with us when we go in the toilet. Have a little read of the manual.
I'm actually surprised this one doesn't have like cheat codes like written down in it and things. Like we used to all them years ago. Like, dear me. But I want to see a Monkey Island, like an actual Monkey Island crossover, not just like that little teaser that we got in the Disney one.
Maybe even some Peter Pan stuff. Captain Hook.
Yes. Oh, God, yeah. Captain Hook would be awesome. Captain Hook would be awesome, mine. But I'd do a lot of these like piratey type crossovers. Peter Pan, Captain Hook. Xbox Mix is saying yes, there will be new Disney stuff in Sea of Thieves. To be fair, the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise has a lot of stuff in it.
Yep, I can see them continuing that.
Okay. There's a lot of stuff in it, so it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to put into that because I loved it. You know what it is? I want to play through the Pirates of the Caribbean kind of section again because I really did enjoy that. I really didn't actually enjoy that.
I know this has got nothing to do with like Sea of Thieves and Xbox, but I really hope that Ubisoft don't abandon Skull and Bones because I've been wanting to play that game for so long.
It's not. See, they stopped and restarted development on that because again, it had nothing in it. The only thing they had in Skull and Bones was ship warfare. There was no piracy. Like the piracy element was you kill a boat and then you run over the treasure.
Maybe they go more of like the Assassin's Creed style, but obviously not Assassin's Creed, more pirate style.
It was but there was no actual like going to an island and digging up treasure and anything like that. There wasn't like a pirate element to it other than the ship warfare, which was kind of. And then Sea of Thieves started really hitting its stride, and that is when they hit problems because how do you take on a game that's doing everything what pirate games should do? Like everything a pirate game should do. It's got the adventure, it's got ship warfare, it's got mythological beasts that you have to fight. It's got characters, stories, factions. It's got arena warfare if you want to just do arena warfare. It's got tall tales if you want to do like magical little whimsical tales.
And right now it's also sharing an IP from Disney with Pirates of the Caribbean. So
and they're naturally extremely impressed by the performance of that crossover in the first one, and are happy to continue doing more, which is awesome to see. Salute to Game Plateau. Hello there, sir. Hope you're enjoying the show. Next up, of course, outside of that, we have Playground Games with Fable and the live service Horizon 5. It's exciting to see. We've said this when Horizon launched. We have absolutely no idea what the expansions can be for Horizon 5. I've got no idea. A lot of people would love to see Hot Wheels again.
We'll definitely see that.
Such a big place that it could be anything. It could be Hot Wheels.
Could be another Fast and Furious promotion.
Micro machines. Yeah. It could be absolutely anything, and I am there for it because the world that we've got at the minute is gorgeous. But judging by the size of this map, the expansions could be as big as the original maps in the previous franchise. It could be like the expansions could be the size of the Forza Horizon 4 map. You never know. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got to come up with in Horizon 5 over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I can't wait for that as well. And considering I'm someone that's not really into racing games, I really enjoyed Horizon 5.
Yeah, and just seeing what they come up with it. And again, I need to dive into their creation thing a little bit more and create some wacky tracks to play with people online.
That video you did the other day, you showed me, is amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't even know you could do all that. Didn't even know you could do all that. That blew my mind.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that takes a lot of effort. But yeah, you can do track building as well. So you can make tracks with like half pipes and loop de loops and all of that stuff in the game. So it's going to be absolutely awesome. Hello as well to Mr. Joanna Dark. Welcome.
Hello, Mr. Joanna Dark.
And of course, then we have Fable. And I think everyone's looking forward to this one. Obviously, I am. I've got a Fable Series S that I've created. So I am well up for it. Mick is in exactly the same boat. His thoughts were exactly. He's obviously got a Fable series controller that I designed from. Can't wait for that game. Can't wait to see what the team at Playground do. Again, I am absolutely not worried in the slightest about what comes out of Playground Games. They are
they're masters of the engine they're using.
Yeah, extremely talented, well versed in what that engine does. They are using the Forza Tech engine for it. They're not using Unreal. The Forza Tech engine is a wide array of things that it can be done with it. It's very detailed. They've got the grips with it. They were considering using Unreal, but they decided against it and just stuck to Forza Tech. I am very excited to see what that's going to be. And we should see more of it this year as well.
Could you imagine what the sound design of Fable is going to be like?
I imagine just walking through the forests and things in Fable.
Yep, hearing like twigs and all that cracking under your feet. And the branches moving as you walk past them.
Yeah, like the ray traced ambience of just like walking through a forest.
You know full well that they're going to use all that tech to their advantage.
100%. 100%.
I can't wait.
And like, even if you think like certain sections in Fable, you've got the old muskets and things like that. They're gonna have like the sound of a musket getting fired through a valley and things like that.
Yeah, echoing and reverberating through the valleys
around everything. Oh my god! Yeah, I cannot wait to see what they do with that. That's going to be absolutely insane. Ninja Theory they've missed one out here because they have 3 projects in the way, not 2. I've forgotten the name of the third one, but they have 2 projects and then Senua Saga. So they've got Project Mara. They've got another one on top of that, which I've forgotten the name of, but they do have a secondary project. And then they have Senua Saga, Hellblade 2. We've seen Hellblade 2, and it looks insane.
You did see the tweet they did where they showed the picture of her all clean and then the picture of her all dirtied and snotty. That blew my mind.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, the level of detail they're putting into characters, animations, materials, skin textures, eye texture, and everything in between.
Crazy.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it right now. It blows my mind.
It's next level, but you've got to think as well, and I've said this before, but Senua Saga, Senua Hellblade, Senua Sacrifice, was created with just 20 people.
It's crazy.
They have 20 people, and they have 100. They have over 120 to 150 people working at Ninja Theory now. A small section of that are working on Project Mara. Probably about 20, 30 people. So about 100, which is four times the amount of people that worked on the first one are working on the second one.
I just think we probably would never have got Hellblade 2 if Xbox didn't get them.
Yeah, because they've built them a brand new studio from the ground up to do what they need to do and to make the game that they want to make. Now, if that isn't investment in a studio, I don't know what is. You take a brand new studio, and what equipment do you need to do the best job you can do? Or we need the brand new, we need the top of the range, high tech, best in world mocap studio. We also need the best in world sound recording studio for this 3D audio stuff we're going for, which is second to none. Like Hellblade 1 has still got some of the best 3D audio out of any game ever.
It's amazing. All the voices and whispers around your head. It's just crazy detailed.
And then, of course, we're seeing the ray traced audio with Forza Horizon 5, which is insane. And just thinking what Hellblade and Ninja Theory can do with ray traced audio and 3D audio in Senua's Saga. Oh, Jesus, that's going to be trippy. But it's going to be insane. But that's another studio where I am not concerned about the level of quality that'll come out of them.
Yep, same.
That's just going to be, it's going to be insane, and I am looking forward to seeing more of Senua Saga when I think again another game we'll see potential release date this E3 or this E3 period, depending on what happens with that. But essentially June, we'll see more of that in June, and we'll potentially get a release date for it.
Yep, I can't wait. As soon as that is announced, I'm going to be excited to play it.
Oh God, yeah. It's not going to be too far off now. We've seen a vertical slice, and usually the vertical slice comes around about a year-ish before its release.
I'm going to say early March 2023.
Yeah, potentially an early release of next year. Then we've got Perfect Dark. Now, this one's a bit different because they're working with Crystal Dynamics on Perfect Dark. So this is an agreement they've got. Crystal Dynamics are working with the Initiative. The Initiative, as it stands, are around about 50 to 70 people. Obviously, that doesn't, in terms of AAA studios, that doesn't qualify them within the big realms of AAA. Although it is a quadruple A studio, and by that it means the investment that's went into building that studio and that team, the quality of staff and the quality of leadership and developers and everything that they've got in the Initiative is insane. Some of the people that they've got working there are heads of studios for multiple amazing franchises that we've loved from all over the industry, whether that be Naughty Dog, whether that be from Ninja Theory or 343 or Insomniac Games, or literally anybody you can think of that was top of their field is in the Initiative. Of course, we've seen one leave the Initiative and go back to Insomniac, but he'd done what he needed to in terms of the project, which was fine. We usually see that once he's got the project up and running, then his job is pretty much done. You just need somebody else then to just caretake over it until its completion.
I can't wait to see what this game looks like.
Yeah. And Crystal Dynamics, as they've shown in previous Tomb Raiders, are also phenomenal in level of detail and the quality that comes out of them. So again, another studio where I have no reservations into their quality.
And a lot of people are going to be held up on their last project, but project.
Yeah. But even then, I mean, the game itself, had it not been then blighted by MTX, was good. You can't say the graphics weren't great, because they were great.
The graphics were pretty good. Yeah. I enjoyed the story for what it was, but it was very broken at launch. It did need a delay, but it doesn't stop it from being a good game story wise.
Oh yeah, completely agree. But I've got all the confidence in the world. The only thing we haven't seen is the game itself. Again, another thing I think we might or might not see of this year. I'm not sure. That one's still up in the air. I think they could potentially still. I think they'll show that just to show an update on it.
Maybe show maybe some small snippet of gameplay just to type it over.
I don't think it's going to be any release window attached to it, or if they do, it's going to be a vague one like coming 2024.
Yep.
I can't
if
see
that's
that
coming out. It's coming out either early 2024 or end of 2023, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Then we go to the bottom. Undead Labs. They are putting out some outstanding updates consistently for State of Decay 2. Done a really great job at supporting that game. And of course, then they have the big AAA State of Decay 3. They have their fully funded first shot at a big version of their game. I'm interested to see what they do with that. A first-party zombie game.
Yeah, I really did enjoy the first State of Decay. I played quite a bit of the first one. I haven't played too much of the second one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there was a lot of bugs and a lot of issues with the online connectivity of the second one. The first one was great, which is why it got such a following. The second one, bringing in the online, and it had a lot of rubber banding issues, and I mean a lot of rubber banding issues. It was absolutely unplayable at launch, and around for the next few months after that, it was just unplayable. Sometimes you get in it, it'd be fine. Other times you get into it, and it would be like you were playing with somebody from Australia. It was just literally impossible to play. Like you would zoom from one end of the map to the other. The zombies would do the same thing, or you'd get invisible zombies because they hadn't loaded in. They're just attacking you, and you couldn't see them or attack them. So you couldn't do anything about it. So then it caused a lot of issues. But since then, they've patched the living hell out of it. They've added additional content. They've put it they've enhanced it. They've put it like Series X enhanced. They've really polished it. They've put a lot of content into it. They've got horde mode in it now as well.
I'm interested to see what this looks like graphical wise, because the CGI trailer really sold it to me as it's going to be a really visually
it's going to be their first big AAA game. It's going to be their first fully fledged, high polished game. I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. And it's obviously going to be another survival State of Decay. Whether or not they retain the online aspect of it is another thing, but it's certainly going to be like this build up your settlement type thing like the previous ones. I think it's just going to be
what I loved about the first one, just building up your settlement.
Yeah. But we shall see. I've got faith that they'll pull it out of the bag and do something special with that. Compulsion. I can't speak on any of these projects because we don't know what they are. Project Midnight, Project Velvet.
I didn't know they were working on two.
We Happy Few was a bit of a weird one. I didn't play much of it. They did really improve it after launch. I haven't went back to it yet. I think for the purpose of research, I might have to.
I've not played We Happy Few either.
Yeah, it has been enhanced as well for Series X and S. So I might have to go back to it, play a little bit of it, see what it's about, get an understanding of Compulsion Games as a studio and what they're creating, the types of stuff that they create, and then maybe have a better idea as to what these can be. Because I've got no idea what Midnight and Velvet are.
I don't have a clue.
Yep.
Wondering if Midnight could be a maybe big sort of horror game.
Possibly. We shall see. Obsidian Entertainment, of course. Grounded, another Sea of Thieves. Started off small, getting very big community already on there, and already starting to continually add content. And they've already added lots of big stuff, and they're only adding even more. I think another big update's coming to that this week, if not this month, coming up. So that's awesome. And I'm glad to see that tiny team that started Grounded is starting to flesh that that experience out, and it's got a huge community, and it's continuing to get supported, and that it's also been successful. So hats off to that little team that had a little niche idea, and it's grown to something massive. So
I enjoyed what I played of it, because it was one of my very first. I think it was my second Pass or Play episode. I played Grounded, and I gave it a play.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's awesome. What I played of it from when it started to what I played from it the other month when I played it, and then you had the crafting and things like that, and you had
I haven't gone back to it myself
and the science lab and things like that now. It's expansion and what you can do is a much better experience than what I did when I played it in beta. So hats off to them. It's massive. But then they've also got 3 other projects. Massive, obviously, Obsidian love the workload. Avowed, which we know is set in the reminders of the Pillars of Eternity world.
Yep, that's it. I was just about to say that. He beat me to
it. Outer Worlds 2, which I think was the first Outer Worlds, ended up being a raging success. Really great game. I absolutely loved it. It was like a Fallout light. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too over the top, like in terms of its game length. It was a beautiful 15, 17-hour game. Loved it. Absolutely.
That's something I need to go back to. What I played, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, the characters, the comedy, the guns, the way you can murder people, the story was all intriguing. Obviously, it's got expansions that I haven't played yet, but Outer Worlds 2, I think it's only going to improve on what the first one was, and the first one that they brought out on that new IP was absolutely tremendous. And the reception it got when it got announced, Outer Worlds 2, was phenomenal. Like people were just
that trailer was amazing.
I can't believe they're bringing that out so straight away or announcing it straight away.
That trailer was funny.
Absolutely over the moon with it, which just shows how popular it is. The fact that they've just went, yes, another one. Yeah, it just shows well done to them because it's really hit the nail on the head for them. So congrats. I am buzzing for that, and I fully expect that one to be amazing.
I wonder what their unannounced project's going to be.
Pentiment. That could be another Pillars game.
Could be, but
in an actual Pillars of Eternity, just an actual Pillars of Eternity game, as opposed to Avowed, which is a branch off completely different first-person Skyrim game. Obviously, Pillars of Eternity was more of a proper Diablo-esque kind of top-down world. Very different.
People want them to work on another Fallout, so I was just thinking maybe it could be a Fallout New Vegas sequel, maybe.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. And you've got Project Cobalt from In Exile and Project Unannounced Project. Again, not sure what Cobalt and this project are, but that's In Exile.
I think we'll see Project Cobalt's trailer this year.
Yeah, that one probably won't see for a while. Double Fine have only just came off the back of a game, so we won't see anything to do with them for a while.
Multiple unannounced projects.
Multiple projects. He did announce that though afterwards. He said they'd already got quite a few things in the works, which was good. But obviously, as soon as you get Microsoft back and you can start to realize some of your ideas, and obviously we know Psychonauts 2 wouldn't have been what it was without Microsoft. Tim Schafer himself said that he wouldn't have had the boss fights in there. He wouldn't have had some of the levels in there. It wouldn't have been the game we got in the end if it wasn't for Microsoft.
Brutal Legend 2.
Yeah. Basically anything from Tim Schafer, I'm happy with because his work is tremendous. The games he's made, the history of games he's made, they've all been great. So I've got
on the right track to be a big Kojima person.
100%. Yeah, he's so underrated by people. I think people don't mention him enough, and one of the best creators in gaming. And one of the founders of creative gaming. If you have a look back at all the IPs he's worked for decades, we are talking Monkey Island and things from 2 decades ago. We are talking about all of these old point and click adventures. We're talking about all these old games, and then we're talking about Psychonauts and Brutal Legend. He's got some of the most creative games in the history of gaming. So I've, again, no doubt World's Edge. Age of Empires 4 expansions, of course. Age of Empires 4, anyone who has a PC. Awesome game. Go play it. It's only going to keep expanding. They're going to keep adding more races in there, more campaigns. They're going to add more of the online, more maps, everything you can possibly imagine to that. So that's going to continue to grow. I'm not sure what the announced project is. I have no idea. But
it'd be funny if it was a Halo Wars game.
Oh God, I know, that'd be amazing.
In the style of Age of Empires,
in the style of Age, that'd be tremendous.
Choose maybe like a Covenant faction to start off as.
Yeah, you've got a couple of races in there. It wouldn't take them much because obviously in Age they've got hundreds of races of people that could do, but in Halo you've got 6 or 7.
Very interesting. Like you start as that. Like if you want to be a human, you start at the beginning of the human civilization, set in the Halo universe. That'd be cool. I'd like to see that.
Awesome.
Or even the Flood.
You've got unannounced project again, like we've mentioned there. It could be anything. But they are making or testing the console version of Age 4 at the minute. So anybody who wants to play Age 4 who hasn't got a PC capable of playing one, then within about a year or so, you will see that on console. I would think. Mojang, I think we know what they were bought for and what they will continue to do. Minecraft Dungeons is absolutely nothing what it was at launch. Like that game was great at launch and had lots of content, but Jesus wept, have they added lots to that now? It is absolutely insane the amount of stuff that they've got on that game now.
Yeah, I remember when we played it on the old charity stream.
Yeah, it was just too much to take in. I looked at it and I was just like, I don't even know where to start now. It was like I'm lost. There was so many levels and so many things to do, and they've got timed events that happen every now and again, and big boss areas and horde modes, and it's just so much content. And of course, Minecraft itself just always continues to expand. So that's what they're going to do, and that's what they'll continue to do. And it's a massive juggernaut, and it won't stop. So
I wonder what they're going to do with Minecraft next.
I think eventually get RTX or all of that stuff working on console, get ultra realism stuff sorted for console, like they mentioned they were going to do. It hasn't been canned. I know they had a few issues with it, but I think it'll get it working. It'll bring it over. They had Minecraft RTX working on PC. They still have it working on PC. I think they're just kind of refining that to work on console properly because it was a very big resource hog. Even on PC, it took a lot to get that thing running properly and smoothly. So that's what they'll do. Then we go into publishing. So this is third-party exclusives. So these are contracts that they've agreed by third parties to make games for Xbox Studios. IOI Project Dragon, of course. That is what was that rumor to be again?
Oh, I can't remember. I think was it Jez Corden that talked about this?
Yes, but that's going to be good anyway. That's going to be a massive game. Contraband with Avalanche. Basically, Avalanche, IOI, and who else was it? It was somebody else. And Asobo. Avalanche, IOI, and Asobo are all in like a trial period with Xbox at the minute, and these contracts are kind of in tandem with seeing how they do before being kind of acquired by Xbox.
Contraband looks interesting.
Contraband looks interesting.
That looks like gameplay wise.
It's like an Uncharted. It's essentially an Uncharted co-op thief tomb raiding game.
I wonder if it's going to have like sort of Ocean's vibe, you know,
Ocean's
the Ocean's movies,
yeah, type stuff. I think that's what that is.
That'd be cool. I'd
but
like to
more
see
like
that.
more like an Uncharted tomb type of things. It's like going to certain areas and like you have to plan how you're going to kind of do this particular level and then try and kind of do that. And things go wrong. I think that's going to be very interesting game. Is Dusk Falls? Is that already out yet, or that's coming out? Isn't it?
I have no idea.
That's a.
I don't even know what that game is.
Yeah, it's a smaller title. It's more of an indie side of things. It does look cool. It's definitely very different. Then we've got, obviously we mentioned IOI Project Dragon. We know who IOI are. They do the Hitman franchise. We've got Oxide with unannounced Project Indus. Brass Line with Project Shaolin. Now that was rumored to be
the
a
Wu-Tang game, right? Yeah.
I'm not sure what Project Belfry is by Stoic. And then, of course, we've got the Cloud project that Kojima Productions have signed an agreement with for Xbox.
Anything Kojima does is interesting because he's always trying to push to new heights,
do new things and try new things. And if anybody wants to try new bits and bobs these days, it's most definitely Xbox. They like to try new projects and get these new ideas out. So go for it. And that'll be obviously massive in Japan, so no doubt that'll be interesting when that eventually gets revealed. Tango Gameworks, New Evil Within 3. Yes.
Never played the Evil Within games. My dad
Underrated.
has.
If you love traditional Resident Evils, you'll love Evil Within.
Yeah, I need to give them a try. I keep meaning to, and I wanted to do a pass or play on them, so that's probably one of the reasons why I've just not bothered for a little while longer. When I get back to working on pass or play, that's on the list to do. Evil Within 1.
Right, sweet, definitely do it. Secondly, they've got an announced project. I'm not sure what that could be, to be honest. Really not sure what that can be. We've got Arcane with Redfall, which is due out so far this year. Whether or not that gets delayed, from what I've heard, if it is getting delayed, it's a minor delay, like a month or so. It's not going to be like next year kind of delay, so we'll still see that this year. It is currently scheduled for summer. So if we do see it any later, it'll probably be summer, fall, but not anything later than that.
Would probably be a perfect game around Halloween time.
Yes, it would. October 13th. Boom. Do it. And then an announced project. That's going to be a way out, whatever that is, because obviously they've got Redfall first, and that's like a Borderlands-esque game in Redfall. Roundhouse, unannounced. Again, whatever that is, that'll be a way out. Machine Games Indiana Jones. That is still a couple of years out. But again, that's a big franchise there, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that. That's going to be interesting. And of course, Wolf 3. We expect to see Wolf 3 before we see Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I think so as well.
ID, rumored Quake reboot.
I'd love a Quake reboot.
So would I. I still remember playing Quake on the 360. It was one of the titles that I first got for the 360, and I absolutely loved it.
Quake 4, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that was the day when the Xbox,
and then like the fact that it was like a modern world. It was like a futuristic world war where you were in the trenches, and there was like all these aliens coming out the trenches and things, and I was like, this is awesome. Like
never ever got to complete that. Never.
Did you not?
Nah, my disc broke. Like that was back when the Xbox discs,
scratched all the time.
The cases were very hit and miss, and no matter how careful you tried to get the disc out, it would crack, and that's what happened to my disc. And so I've got about halfway through that game, and the disc cracked, and I was like, shit.
I managed one playthrough, and then mine was equally the same. It got damaged in the box.
I hope it comes to Game Pass at some point.
Yeah,
back compat.
Same. It's an absolutely awesome game. And I can't wait if they're doing a quick reboot, like just Quake, but obviously being the predecessor to it, or even a prequel to it. That would be. I don't care. Either
if they announce that this year, I expect the Quake backlog to come to Game Pass.
Yeah,
they've already got Quake 1, right? Because they remade that.
ESO again, like I say, it's going from strength to strength. Continued stuff. I do have it installed, but I haven't played it for a very long time.
I need to have played it on and off. Never really got too into it though.
And the good thing about ESO though is if you love Skyrim and you love Elder Scrolls, it is exactly the same, but it's online. It's not like every other MMO where it's like so much stuff to learn and so many different macro keys and different things. No, it's just Elder Scrolls, but it's online. And
Elder Scrolls with friends.
Yeah, that's it. So if you want an MMO that doesn't require too much like learning on what you need to do and how you need to do things, ESO is your perfect MMO. It's just Elder Scrolls Online. That's it. Simple as that. And the new IP. This is the one I was speaking about before, where the dev said they've got this awesome new project and all the staff are loving it and they're loving the project and loving working on it. They can't wait to show it off. So I think that
Wasn't
be further
there
along.
A rumor that there was another Lucasfilm IP that Bethesda had?
And I think it was ZeniMax that might have been doing it.
Star Wars MMO, anyone?
I would love that.
I mean, we already have a Star Wars MMO, but I don't really go much on that one.
Based on that tweet, it feels like it's far enough along to be able to start just like showing what that is or telling what that is. So I could hear more about that this year. And of course, you've got the juggernaut that is Bethesda's studios themselves. Fallout 76 is going to continue. It's thankfully revitalized itself. It now has a pretty decent player base. The game is running pretty well. It's definitely done better than it was at launch. It's kind of redeemed itself a little bit. But then you've got the juggernauts that are Starfield, which is coming out this fall, this December. Actually, this November, 11/11/22. And Elder Scrolls is miles away. Miles and miles away. They haven't even started on that.
I have no worries about Starfield whatsoever.
No.
With the amount of time I put into Skyrim and the Fallout games, I know full well that I'm going to be playing a shit ton of Starfield when that comes out.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And of course, like we mentioned before, then we've got obviously the Call of Duty franchise, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Diablo, Overwatch, StarCraft, Soldier of Fortune, all of them things. But it's just really like in terms of actual projects, like if you have a look at that as a glimpse, the amount of things that are just being worked on by the studios right now are just insane.
And I forgot about a lot of them. And once I saw that list, I was like, oh, God, I can't wait to play that. Oh, I remember that game.
It's going to be utterly, utterly insane. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with all of that. But yes, we're going into our final topic here. Final one for today. What would you expect to see Sony do following this news? What do you think? How do you think they react? And of course, the initial reaction from them was, "Don't take COD away. We expect Activision titles to remain multi-plat." I don't think they could realistically expect Activision titles to remain multi-plat permanently. No. I think they could certainly hope that they remain multi-plat for a small period of time following acquisition. And imagine, much like the ZeniMax Bethesda stuff, that they hope that their contracts are held. And I think that's why he put that quote out, was just to say, listen, we're not going to terminate any of your contracts, whatever exclusivities you've got in place, they still remain.
I think Sony are in no position to
they've got no
their games
angle,
to stay.
No.
I mean, look at what Sony do every time they announce an acquisition. All their stuff goes exclusive. So why should they think it's going to be any different when Xbox does it?
I fully agree. I don't... specifically with... If I was... You know what it is? If I was Phil Spencer and he was saying, please don't take away Call of Duty for a number of years, I would say, okay, stop doing ridiculous extended timed exclusivity for the likes of Final Fantasy. Don't take away Street Fighter from an entire generation. Stop
7 years
stop doing things that don't have a benefit to anyone other than yourself. Like Final Fantasy started on Nintendo. They went to PlayStation based on the media type, not because of they wanted to be on PlayStation. It was because PlayStation had a CD, not a cartridge, and they could put more onto it. So therefore, they could actually make a bigger game and make the game that they wanted to make. It wasn't because it was PlayStation. Following that, of course, then PlayStation did go multiplat after PlayStation 2. You start to see Final Fantasy back on Nintendo. You start to see Final Fantasy back on 360 with the 13. And then you're seeing all of the back catalogue of Final Fantasies go into Xbox One generation with the old OG 9, 7, 10, 10, 2, 10, 3, 12, 12, 2. And all of them, well, Final Fantasy 13. The only two you haven't seen are the Final Fantasy 7 remakes and Final Fantasy 14. And those are the two that are holding under exclusivity agreements that just need to be stop. Like, it's been by the time the exclusivities technically ran out for Final Fantasy remake, it's 2 years after its initial release. Like, that becomes an old game now. And this is what I was talking about before when I'm talking Call of Duty's on extended exclusivities, is people just stop caring about them, because by the time it's come out on Xbox, people are like, well, I've already played that on PlayStation. Like, I bought a PlayStation for it, so I'm not going to buy it again on Xbox.
Yep, most people are probably likely going to buy a PlayStation to play that anyway. So
yeah, exactly. So like, stop holding them. Like, yes, 6 months, like a 6 month timed exclusivity for Final Fantasy, fair enough. Like, I can understand your history with the Final Fantasy franchise, but it doesn't need to be that way going forward.
No.
Like, just stop it. Let us release this Final Fantasy VII remake on the console. Let us have a better relationship with Square Enix. We obviously, it's only going to benefit gamers, and likewise, you've got multiple announced. This is what I'm talking about. When Xbox, if you have a look at the middle section here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 studios working on exclusive titles from scratch. Exclusive IPs from scratch for Xbox.
Yep, they're not holding any existing IP to ransom like Sony by going, keep that off of Xbox.
And Sony have got exactly the same. So we haven't had an affinity with Wolverine per se, but they have an exclusivity agreement for Insomniac to develop the Wolverine game and the Spider-Man game. And all of these titles that they've got IPs for, which is fair enough. Sony have an IP; they have first dibs essentially on the Spider-Man IP and where it's used, etc. So they can go forward with that. They need to stop this money hatting of things that are ultimately going to be multi-platform. Like, stopping other players from playing something that will inevitably be on another platform. Fair enough, if you're paying a developer to create an IP specifically for your platform, then that is absolutely fine. I do not mind that in one way, shape, or form. Any way, shape, or form.
Even looking at that from the Xbox point of view, with Insomniac, Insomniac wanted to make that game. I can't even remember what it's called now. Sunset Overdrive. They wanted to make it, but no one wanted them to make it. They wanted them to keep making existing IPs. And Xbox let them do that. They give them the money to do that, and they let them keep the bloody franchise as well.
Exactly.
And now PlayStation have got that franchise because Xbox they took Insomniac in, they nourished them, they give them exactly what they wanted, and they didn't take the franchise off of them when they parted ways.
And likewise, Alan Wake.
They give that back to them.
Have fun, enjoy it. But just stop money hatting it all. I just think if you're paying a developer to create a game specifically for your platform, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. But when you're talking about third party, and Xbox have been doing this as well in the past, with Tomb Raider, where it had a 1 year exclusivity. But they're no longer doing them types of agreements where it money hats a game away from it. The only exclusivity they want is, I want this game on Game Pass day one. That's it. That's all they're bothered about. They don't want this timed exclusivity. They know the benefits of going into Game Pass day one is a bigger benefit than getting it for a timed exclusive. So
I mean, look at it with Outriders.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't go much on it myself, but it did good things for Game Pass.
Yeah. So, and that's their benefit. That's why they don't care about timed exclusivity now. And I think Sony need to start doing the same. If a game's going to be multi-plat anyway, stop holding it hostage for a number of years just to benefit yourself. That doesn't do anything for the gamers. There's no benefit for the studio. Just let it be multi-plat. Yeah, have some exclusive content for it or whatever. Like, whatever it is, don't care. but just let other people experience the game. Like, if it's not just meant for your platform, then just let them experience it. Simple as that. But I think personally, I don't think they need to do anything per se. They've got a lot of very talented studios. They're very good at what they do. I think they just need to relax a little bit.
I think they will buy up some smaller developers.
Yeah,
just so they've got more people working on more IP.
It's like I said about Xbox, and I'll say it again now to kind of nearly round off this. The acquisition season is fully open for pretty much every large gaming company there is. Whether that be Tencent, Microsoft, whether that be Nintendo, whether that be Google, whether that be
Amazon,
Facebook, whether that be Amazon, or Sony. All of them right now are looking across the whole plane of gaming and thinking, what else do I need to further enhance my proposition for the gamers? What studio will really add benefits to us? Now, Sony have looked at this and they've invested in smaller studios, but those smaller studios will further refine their other projects. So they've got one Fire Sprite working on a first-person game, a first-person shooter. They have Nixxes doing all of their, assisting in all of their PC ports. And by God of War's extent, that looks absolutely phenomenal. And they've done an unbelievable job at the port for that. So it's a really great investment. And they're going to continue to do all these smaller things. They don't have to, like, PlayStation fans need to understand that they're never going to be able to compete on the same plane of purchasing as Microsoft, and they shouldn't expect them to either. They're never going to go out and buy a Ubisoft or
they're not going to ever have that kind of money to do that.
They're too big. It's too big of an investment for them. They would need to see immediate returns of investment. And that isn't like Microsoft don't need to see immediate returns of investment. You're not going to get 60 billion recouped in 1 year. That's going to take decades to recoup that investment. It's not going to be like immediate. So right now, they don't need to do anything. They need to just do a little bit. They need to kind of concentrate on what they've got. They need to make sure that God of War, Horizon Forbidden West, and all of that stuff hits it out the park. Continue to support their current developers. We've got 20-odd projects in the works. Make sure they're doing well. Continue what you've been doing. You're pumping out awesome games anyway, so continue.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You just need to keep pumping out those awesome games.
Yeah. They're doing well. They've got nothing to be scared about. It's only the rabid fanboys that are bothered about what is going wrong with it. They're still getting their other franchises. You're still getting NBA. You're still getting MLB. You're still getting... You're still getting your FIFAs, you're still getting your other stuff. You're gonna have Call of Duty in some fashion. You've still got Spider-Man. Like, you've got everything. You still got Fortnite on there. You've got a lot of big stuff on that platform that people continue to come there for. So you've got no issue. No issue. Christopher Hart, thank you, sir. So just put this on screen very quickly there. So excited for the future of Xbox. Much love, panel. Yes, much love, Christopher Hart. Thank you very much for stopping by, bro.
Thank you. But saying that though, what do you think Xbox is going to do next? Because they do have a hefty sum of money left over before the fiscal year ends.
They have to spend it. Yes,
they have to spend.
It is not. It is no secret. Xbox do have to. They've got a lump of. They have a physical cash in hand that they have to spend before
60 billion or something like that.
Tax year end, 60 billion left to spend before tax year end, and they have to spend it or put it offshore or invest in something. So they have to spend or invest 60 billion before tax year end, which is why you're seeing this kind of investment. It's not just because they had £100 billion sitting that they had to spend before the tax year end, or essentially risk getting it taxed to death and losing a lot of it.
A lot of people don't realize this, but it was Activision that went to Microsoft. It wasn't the other way around.
Yeah, and that's why Microsoft in the end just went, well, actually, we've got to spend this money anyway, and we're actually paying over the odds. Like the actual cash transaction, they were only sitting at something like $85 a share, and they paid $95 or something for it, which is an extortionate amount above what its asking price was. but they've got cash to spend. They have over 60 billion left to spend. So they could. We're not going to say. I don't think we'll see another big publisher before.
No, I don't expect that.
Tax year end. The investment will probably be spread across quite a few things. Microsoft will probably invest in quite a few different technological aspects.
I expect the rest of that money to go across the board. Maybe some securing some big Game Pass games from third party.
Yes,
possibly Saints Row.
Yep.
Possibly some of the other big games.
Don't be surprised, because they've already teased February's Game Pass are going to be massive.
And I think that is going to be Dying Light.
Yeah. Don't be surprised to see big games going into Game Pass in February.
Wasn't it Microsoft that helped? What's the studio that make Dying Light? Techland, is it?
Yeah.
Didn't they give them money to help them finish Dying Light 2?
Yes.
So maybe Dying Light 2 is on the cards for Game Pass. I was on the border
Dying
of
Light 2, Elden Ring,
it.
Could be anything. Could be anything.
Could be both of them.
Expect big things in February for Game Pass. But no, I expect some of the smaller studios that they've been working with to come into the fray. They have the money to spend. They won't cost a lot. The likes of Sobo, I would imagine, would get brought on. They've got a 10-year agreement for Flight Sim, so they've got a long-standing partnership for that anyway. They have obviously the agreements for Plague Tale Requiem to go straight into Game Pass day one.
I can't wait for that. I've got to complete the first one. I've got to.
I cannot wait for the second one. It's going to be phenomenal. Following that, Avalanche and IOI. So Sobo, Avalanche, IOI are going to be the three studios that will come on board. Potentially even Crystal Dynamics. The reason we say Crystal Dynamics is Square Enix have a real distaste for Western developers, and they've really threw Crystal Dynamics under the bus for Avengers. Like, really threw them under the bus. They essentially blame them for their decisions. Square Enix were the ones that said, we want to bring in MTX, we want to do it this way, we want to make it service-based. It wasn't the idea from Crystal Dynamics to do things like that. They didn't want MTX or anything involved with the game. And when it flopped and when it didn't do as well as it could have done...
Yeah. Could you imagine what that game could have been?
Their fault. Yeah.
If they hadn't interfered.
Yeah. And they said, it's their fault. They didn't do a good enough job, and it didn't go to plan for them, and essentially just threw them under the bus. So it's a good idea to think that they would be brought on.
Yeah.
100%.
I can see that happening.
But yeah, so that's where I think the money will be spent, like you mentioned, on Game Pass day ones. Like I say, they've got no interest in any of the timed exclusivity stuff anymore, because their concern is getting it on day one on Game Pass. So I think, as you mentioned, day one's a Game Pass, 100%. And then IOI, Avalanche, potential Crystal Dynamics, but definitely a Sobo.
Oh, yeah.
What about you? What do you think?
Same with you with the studios, those studios you mentioned, but mostly I think they're going to secure some big games for Game Pass with that money.
Yeah.
Just to tie over till the whole Activision thing goes through.
Yeah, 100%.
They've got to spend it, like we said, so why not spend it on some of those Game
another
Pass
thing they
games?
could be doing as well in the background in spending that money is things like building studios or new studios for current developers. Developers are bringing on board that could be enhancing them. For instance, Blizzard Activision, if they've got 10,000 people on one campus, they could just say, right, okay, you no longer have to work under one roof. We're just going to build you a whole nother section of studios in different areas, so you can all have your different workspaces and just relax. They could do stuff like that, invest in your own portfolio.
Yep.
So
maybe invest in getting some licenses out there from movie licenses. Make some games like that. They've got the money.
Yeah.
Use it. Invest in something. It could make a great game.
100%. It's just so much they can do with the money. It really depends, but I think that would be the first thing. Is studios reinvest in current studios, things like and improvements on software and technology and premises, workplaces, things like that, and building new workplaces for certain studios. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So expect a big purchase on non-gaming stuff as well. That's what Mick said. And I agree. It's going to be a lot of stuff going on to Microsoft as well.
Do you think we'll see them announce the Game Pass streaming stick and that sort of TV app thing this year?
Not the streaming stick, but mixed with TV a bit more. Yes. Yeah.
100%. I think when that streaming stick does come, it'll come and it'll be a bundle with a controller and maybe
100%. Yeah, it'll be controller and a streaming stick and 12-month Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Being all in one, it'd be like £100 or something.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to do that.
Yeah, 100%.
That opens up a whole new stream as well of revenue because loads of people got TVs.
Everyone's got TVs, yeah. And even then, if you've got a streaming stick, you don't even have to have a big TV. You could just plug it into whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, 100%. 100%. But that wraps up today. It's been absolutely awesome. 2 hours again. Jesus. But no, it's been absolutely awesome, bro. And again, thanks to everybody who stopped by. And we know we're competing massively with the Iron Lords. And speaking of which, I'm going to be jumping on the Iron Lords straight after this as well. To give my takes. But yes, it's been absolutely awesome to see everybody here. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, it's been a blast. I can't wait again for next week. See what this week brings. See what happens.
What big news this week?
Oh God, I know. I think it's just going to be a continuation of last week's news, to be fair, and a few other things. But yes, absolutely awesome. General, what have you got coming up this week? I hear you've been recording with the Gamers Watch crew. So yeah, what have you got coming up then?
Tomorrow's
podcast appearances this week.
Not this week. No, only the Gamers Watch one tomorrow, but that's pre-recorded. So yeah, tomorrow Gamers Watch. I'm on that one. It's a funny episode. It's probably one of my favorite recordings with them. It was a hilarious time. From right out of the gates, things just derailed so quickly, and we were just in hysterics.
Awesome to hear. I'm looking forward to hearing that. It's always good fun listening to them guys. It's always really good fun.
It's always fun.
But yeah, no, that's absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. And where can people find you, brother, if they don't already know already?
You can find me on my Twitter account, the_general_C. And on YouTube as well, the General C. When I stream, it's on the _general_C too. So you can find me on Twitch.
Nice. Awesome stuff. And of course, with myself, you can find me on Twitter at WandrinDutch, on YouTube, at WandrinDutch, the home of the Midweek Mix-Up. We again are back on Wednesday as usual at our usual time for the Midweek Mix-Up proper. And then again on Sunday for, of course, our next edition of the weekend edition of Midweek Mix-Up. It's been awesome to see you all again tonight. Thank you for stopping by, or anybody who watch it on after the fact. Hope you enjoy the show. Hope you enjoyed our points of view. And we will see you all again next week. Goodbye.
See you all next Sunday.
Bye.